Okay, I'm using this old countertop here as a starter bench for my seeds because it's got some pretty good window right here. These are a very, very rare pea that was thought to have gone extinct back in the late 1800s. So it was discovered by a professor in England. His father had been a head gardener and had been growing these peas, and after the father passed away, the son found this stash of peas in the father's belongings, and they were marked as the pea that they had thought had gone extinct. So it's extremely rare, and I've just put them in here to start. Now I've let this paper dry just a tiny bit now. I've kept the seeds moist. I put them in here, this is the morning, the third morning, so it's 3 full days, 72 hours, almost to the hour in fact. So look at this. Now I didn't count how many I put in here. My intention isn't to grow a whole lot of peas to eat this time. I just want to reproduce the seeds so that I have them to keep. And look at that. Every single seed has sprouted. Awesome. That's amazing. Even that guy there, he's got a tail coming off, so he's a little bit of a slow starter. Some of them are real quick. But look at that. Every single one. So now I've got to get them into some soil. Boy, some of them are really going. This guy's got quite a, you can't really tell, but look there, you can probably see that guy. Look at the tail. The tail's almost an inch long. So 72 hours and 100% germination on the ones that I've tried here. I still have more. I didn't try them all at the same time just in case it didn't work, because they're so very, very difficult to get. This is a species called Naplu Ultra, or Ni Plus Ultra, if you want to say it that way. It's a marrow-fat pea that was extremely popular and widely grown back in England in the days of the big walled gardens that they had on the estates. So I'm so happy that these have, and such a great 100% germination. That's awesome. Okay, because of how very rare these seeds are, and how valuable they are to me. I don't know if they're valuable in terms of dollars, I couldn't begin to tell you, but to me they are. I'm going to use brand new seed cups, or little pots. Normally I would take other ones and just wash them out really well, but I haven't had the time to do that. It's not as easy to do here at the cabin as it is where I have a spot for that. So I'm going to, this soil that I'm using is just it's a leaf mold. It's natural soil from this area. I put in some peat moss and there was in the natural soil, I had it in a bin out there. There was possibly a tiny bit of a purchased sheep manure. That would be, let's take that bigger leaf out of there. What I need here, and the reason I purchased it is because I haven't had the opportunity to set up a composter or anything. Okay, so what we're going to do here is bring our seeds over, and look at this. It's actually got the root seed and the top sprout starting. Boy, I'm amazed at the germination of these old seeds. My gosh. I don't need much covering at this point. Just get them down in there and get them covered over, just basically to anchor them here. We're going to let them do their thing. And this is about as exciting as it gets. I'm so excited to save these old seeds though. I have so many different old breeds of, or cultivars, whatever you want to call it, some of these different seeds. Some of them from back in the early 1700s. And it's just cool to make sure that these things continue on. They're not as delicate and kind of, well, there's certainly no cross-generating, I don't know what these GMO things are, what they do with them, but nothing I want to know about. And that's that. Okay. So, I'll take this off. And the next group of seeds that I'm going to start, and as I was saying, these seeds are not to produce food necessarily this year. This is kind of a resupply, regrowth year, just to be sure. Some of these seeds I've had for a couple of years. Well, actually, a lot of these seeds I've had for several years, and I've planted them, but perhaps not in the last 2 or 3 years. So what I'm really concentrating on here is freshening up, my seed supply. Just, I don't want them to get so aged that they could lose some of their vigor and germination qualities, although it sure as heck hasn't bothered these guys, obviously. There we go. That is a very rare pea, the Plu Ultra, or Ni Plus Ultra. An old marrow fat pea from back in the Victorian days, and possibly beyond that. I haven't followed it all the way back on this particular one. I know it was just one of the more rare ones that I was after. It took quite some time to actually find a chance to get it. A lot of times they go into the country national seed bank. Now, if you're sort of a known horticulturalist, often those seed banks, they do the same thing. They generate the seeds as best they can, then they work up quite a good supply of them, and they will share them, usually free, to another horticulturist who wants to continue on doing the same thing. I don't know, I'm just a fella here doing this on my own. I've been doing it for a long time, and I've done a lot of them. But I don't know that I'd be recognized anywhere as far as being known for this, so I don't know that they would share them with me or not. But I did manage to get some, and now I'm going to just give them some water, and we're good to go. We'll see in a couple of weeks. Hopefully they're going to be 2 or 3 inches tall, and they'll be heading out for the garden. Okay, so I'm just going to let this dribble through my fingers. I don't hit them too hard. There is a slight depression in this tray that it's in. This is just a lid off of a Tupperware, Rubbermaid, whatever it is. So I can actually put some water in this tray a little bit, and they can draw water up from the bottom, which is probably better. Okay, so everything is a bit moist. Let's see, I can just see the little tips now that I've done that, so I may just give it a little bit and put a little bit more soil back in there, but it's looking okay. And that is how we do that. I'm going to do a couple of different types of seeds, all heirloom and all very, very old. This ground has never been tilled, ever. So it's packed. There's a bit of clayish soil in here. So as you can see, I'm using a pickaxe to break it loose, and I'm turning it over with a shovel, more or less like a plowshare would. Well, 3 or 4 out of every 5 shovelfuls, I get these roots in here. They're everywhere. Oh, everywhere. It's all from these evergreen trees. They root shallow. They don't have a tap root. But they're right beside me here. Everywhere. They're beautiful. And I sure wouldn't want anything to happen to them, but man, they throw out a ton of roots. And what I want to do eventually is have this extend down the hill somewhat for drainage, because down in this lower level here it can get fairly damp. So I'm going to extend this down maybe another 4 feet, and then I'm going to build up a log retaining wall basically, and then I'll eventually build the level of soil up with compost and whatever else I've got. that I can build it up with, so that I have a more or less level area with a good bit of drainage. And I can open up another area there, 20 by 40 or more, and that would give me a larger area for a bigger crop like potatoes, or I don't think I'll bother with corn, but I want to get some root crops do really well here. So I want to get, well, I want to get cabbage, but I want to get some turnips, some carrots, onions, all that sort of thing, and potatoes, of course. This is what I mean about roots. So I have this ice chipper. Actually, I've been using it as a log peeling spud. But look at this thing. Here, let me grab an end of it. Look at this. The thick part down there is probably at least 1 inch in diameter. You know, that goes a long way. And this whole ground, I'm about 12 feet from this fairly good-sized evergreen / poplar here. And this whole area, I've been chopping those out for this entire job. And this ground is, like I said, it's so dry and so hard from the clay and all these big roots that the rototiller can't possibly go through here. So I have to spade up the whole area, break it up as best I can, get the bigger parts of the roots out. And then, once it breaks down a little bit, I can get the tiller in here and hopefully I can break it up a little bit better. And in the meantime, well, I'm going to have to amend the soil too. I'm going to have to buy, well, right now I'm just going to get it done quick. So I'll buy some bags of sheep manure stuff and dump several bags of it in here. That's the only way I'm going to get this thing going in time for any hope of something this year. When the fall comes, I'll load that with whatever kind of composted material I can get and cover it with a big dark colored tarp, black if I can get a good thick black tarp, so that it'll help kill any of the weeds that want to come back up through it anyways. So it'll be nice next year, nicer the year after, and so on. But ton of work now. Well, I gotta tell you, sweat dripping off of me. This is bearing a very striking resemblance to some reasonably hard work. Those roots are just, my gosh, there's so many things to do at this time of year. I've got wood to cut for the fall, for the winter. I'd love to get this garden in. It's not going to be highly productive this year. It's certainly not going to be enough to, you know, supply me with any significant amount. But I'm getting it started, and I will get something from it. You know, I hope to get some cabbage and maybe some squash or something. And I'm going to container grow a couple tomatoes. I've collected up a little bit of soil in my wheelbarrow here, and I have some peat moss, so I'm going to mix that together. And when I go to town on Tuesday, I'll also get, you know, a dozen bags of chicken manure or sheep manure or whatever they've got available, and I'll get that all into a mix, most of which will go in the garden here, but just enough to start a tray of seeds of whatever I'm going to do. And at least next year I'll be better set up. Even if I plant up what I've got so far in the garden, as the summer goes on I continue to spade up more. It will be too late to put anything in it at that point, but at least I can expand the size. And then in the fall I'll mulch it good with something, rototill it in, even if it's just straw or something. Maybe hay, whatever, and then in the spring I'll have a halfway decent garden. In the meantime, I've got to start a compost pile here, which I always do anyways, but I really need to get on it now. This area here is just basically going to be my kitchen garden. If I want to come out here and get some chives or some basil or something like that, maybe a couple of tomatoes, which I'll probably grow in containers, this is where that will be. And then further down, just past where timber is, down on that more or less level area there, I don't know if I'll get it all done this year, but my idea is to put down an area down there large enough for a pretty good batch of potatoes. I definitely have to have a good batch of mint, because I love mint tea with some honey in it. So, but I've certainly got the space to do it. And I think right now I am way overdue for a jump in the lake.